Hello everyone and welcome to my top 5 games inspired by ancient Egypt. Now you might know that although I do many other things on YouTube, I'm actually an anthropologist. So I have tried a lot of games that are based on historical events or set in prehistory or medieval times, etc. And I plan on making a few different lists for all of these games. However, today I'm going to start with Egypt, which was actually my first passion and the reason I wanted to pursue my archaeology degree. So let's get started. Now, I thought it was a good idea to start here because this game actually deals with sort of the birth of Egyptian culture. Well, not the birth because Egyptian culture is much older, but what we think of when we think about ancient Egypt. This game is a strategy survival game and the goal is to populate Egypt. So you'll have to assign people to different jobs to generate resources and then use those resources to expand and conquer new areas. Now, one of the things I like about this game is that it's all turn-based, so there is no hurry to do anything. You can take your time and think about what you want to do. Here, for example, we're moving our first group of people to a new area. It's going to take just one day or one turn to be found. For instance, it took us one day find this new field that generates 2 wheat instead of 1, so we can assign our group of people to that one now. But because we cannot create a group yet, we need to wait another turn to generate these new resources. And now the new group can be assigned either to one of the fields we just had or to a different area that we can remove the fog of war from. And in this case, this is a very early game, but in this case, we are also starting to generate other types of resources like production and culture. There will also be religion and lots of other things. So let me show you what the game looks like once you have uncovered more of the map. So here is a city with over 4,000 people. And here you can see how all of the different resources have been generated, all the available spaces that I can relocate people to, the kinds of jobs and the conditions for victory for this playthrough, which in this case are about conquering cities and uniting tribes and building a new capital and finally celebrating the unification of Egypt. So I found this game a while ago and I thought it was really good. It's a really good strategy game. It's very relaxed and the most important thing is that it's historically accurate. You're going to learn so much from this game and it actually has like little extracts and stories from real excavations and from real papyri. So if you like Egypt and you like strategy games, this is definitely one of my top recommendations. Okay, our next game, I'm pretty sure that if you like games and you like Egypt, you know this one, but it has to be in this list and it has to be one of the first ones. It's Pharaoh and its expansion, Cleopatra. This was one of my first game obsessions and it was the first game that I was able to play like on the side. So I will, for example, do my homework and I will build a pyramid at the same time. And I think to this day, building that pyramid was one of my biggest achievements in life. So what is Pharaoh, if you haven't heard about it yet? It is a city building game. It's also a farming game in a way, based on the flooding of the Nile. It has some warfare and it has these giant monuments you can build over a long time and you progress your dynasty as you play. One of the things I like the most about this game, apart from the pyramids and the temples, is the ability to do commerce with other cities, to import and export goods. And if you really liked it or you are curious about this game but you don't want to play the original, there is also a remake of the game that includes Cleopatra as well. And the graphics are much better, you can control the resolution and it's as much fun as the original one. So definitely worth a try. It is a classic and I think it has aged quite well too. Both Pharaoh and Caesar, which was the other game from around the same time. Alright, we have done 2 strategy games in a row, well, city builder strategy. So now I'm going to show you something a little different that is not exactly a cozy, relaxing game, but I can play it and I'm very bad at conflict. And it is Assassin's Creed Origins. If you have played any of the other Assassin's Creed, the mechanics are basically the same and it just takes place in Egypt. If you haven't, then you should know that you will have to sneak around and attack people. However, if you're not too comfortable with conflict, this is still a very enjoyable game because it is for me and I don't particularly like conflict or fighting. And even if this is not your kind of game, it is still so worth it if you can have access to it because it really feels like, I don't know, like actually being in ancient Egypt. And I have been to Egypt, I have studied the culture a lot and I find it fascinating and it's incredible to be there. It's an incredible experience. However, being able to see like the objects that you can't really imagine when you are visiting a ruin, for example, it's just amazing. The people, the sounds, I think it's done to perfection. I think it is pretty accurate with some modifications to make the world more playable, I guess, for a game and more explorable. So everything is in a smaller scale. But the way they recreated the houses and the markets, you just won't see this anywhere else. And I'm still so grateful that there is like an experience like this, that you can actually load the game and you are in Egypt. Now, this is not a cheap game, although there are sales sometimes, but if you like the style, or if you want to experience what it's like to walk around the streets and see Alexandria and Thebes and all the places you might have read about, then definitely a recommendation. Plus, you can also play it just in story mode. Alright, our next game is one I haven't actually played myself, and it's Builders of Egypt. What you can see here in the background is actually the trailer, and there is already a demo you can download from Steam. So, as I said, I haven't played it, so I'm not sure about this, but it does feel quite similar to Pharaoh in a way. It's like a 3D Pharaoh with, I imagine, lots of improvements over it. Although I have to say, I don't find the interface particularly easy to see or accessible. But I will wait for the full release before I play it, and then I can let you know what I think about it, or we can play it together here in the channel. It does look like the systems are pretty good. The use of water, for example, and the production lines. Luckily, we have lots of games to take inspiration from, I would say, which is a good thing. It's a good thing they're doing an Egypt-based game, and we will have to see. If you're curious, there are a few playthroughs on YouTube, and if you have tried it yourself, please feel free to let me know in the comment section. It looks pretty good, so I'm excited about it. Number 5, we have a VR game, a virtual reality game. It's called Nefertari Journey to Eternity, and it gives you the chance to step into a real Egyptian tomb. You will need a VR headset to explore this, not really a game, more of an experience, I guess, but it is amazing because everything you see has been actually digitally scanned with millimeter accuracy, as the game describes. And as you walk through the tomb, you can actually interact with the different elements around you and learn more about the gods and the history of Egypt. And I remember when we went to Egypt with my brother, we tried to visit this tomb and it wasn't possible. The only way to do it was with a private tour, and it was certain days of the week. So it's not one of the easier ones, so to say, if you are visiting. And it's incredible to be able to see it also on your own, because there are no other people walking around with you. So although this is not strictly a game, I still recommend it. It's a wonderful experience. Alright, so those were my favorite games inspired by Egypt. As you might be able to tell, all of them are kind of realistic. I mean, Assassin's Creed is not realistic, but it is set in a realistic universe, sort of. And I didn't include some other games that are also inspired by Egypt, but not as true to it. For example, Tomb Raider, Nancy Drew, or Forewarm. These are all great games, but they are not strictly historical. So we have some games to look forward to. So I hope you enjoyed this little video, and if you have any recommendations or any comments, please let me know. Thank you so much. I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.